appropriating another's legitimate wife and a child or money, meaning taking away somebody's wife, child, money, will land up that person in Tamisra. Tamisra literally means darkness. And what is the suffering? The name of the hell is Tamisra. And what is the suffering there? So one is chastised, beaten, starved of food and water, and one faints. Volume is very low. Can't hear clearly. Here it is full. Can't. This is the maximum volume here now. So Tamisra is taking away somebody's wife, child, or money by what you call as cheating. Then, if one cheats another person and enjoys his wife and children slyly, then one lands up in Andha Tamisra. So he is thrown down, full of pain, he loses consciousness and sight, becomes blind, and his condition is like a tree which is cut at the root. See, these are, as I said, each place one gets an appropriate body, and then in that one goes through sorrow and suffering. And the purpose of understanding this, we have to be clear. Don't say, Acha, what is the difference between Tamisra and Andha Tamisra? In Tamisra also there is appropriating another's wife, child and money. And Andha Tamisra also there is appropriating another's money, another's wife and children. What is the difference there? So the point is very simple here. Here it is slyly cheating another person and enjoying his wife and children. Person goes through hell. Other one is appropriating another's legitimate wife, children or money. There may be some cheating there may be some fraud there, obviously. In one, there may be consent of the opposite, this thing. Maybe that wife also has cheated. Who knows? The difference is not given very clearly here. Both of the places, it is similar thing which is said. So only one place, that's by fraud. So first one, it is said here that he who takes away by force or fraud. So force, so that's why I said consent in one and force in one. That may be the difference. So by force or fraud, another's wealth, child or wife is bound with the cords of death. This is the sound of the peacocks. And forcibly thrown by the most dreadful servants of Yama into the hell called Tamisra. Now they're tormented in that utterly dark region by being deprived of food, water, belabored with cudgels and severely scolded, and with other such tortures, the jiva is filled with dismay, falls into swoon at that very moment. Then the next one, Andha Tamisra, it is said, even so he indeed who enjoys the wife, etc. of another by deceiving the man is cast into the hell called Andha Tamisra. In the earlier one, it is by force, by fraud. Here it is deception. So it is said here that undergoes the torture of Andha Tamisra. The jiva is deprived through agony of its consciousness and vision, does not have eyesight, can't see, becomes blind, like a tree which is being cut at the root. Hence they call this hell by the name of Andha Tamisra, meaning full of blinding darkness. We don't need to know the subtle difference between two because either of these are not supposed to be done. Again, he indeed who fondly nourishes from day to day his own family exclusively through hostility to other living beings in the world. So there is hatred, anger, animosity, exploitation of other human beings, other beings. Here it is said other living beings for one's own family. And regarding the body alone as a self and the objects of the world, means wife, children, house, etc., as his own, leaves them here and himself alone falls into Raurava Naraka because of this sin, resulting from such hostility, where one has picked up some fight, deprived somebody of something, taken away some things from them, all for one's own family comfort. So oneself and one's family comfort. That hostility one has, then one goes to Raurav Naraka. Then further, the very creatures that were killed by him here are born as Rurus in the other world, in that Raurav Naraka, in that hellish region, and kill the same fellow. When he goes through the tortures inflicted by Yama in the same way as they were killed by him. Hence they speak of that region as Raurava, the abode of Rurus. Ruru is the name of that creature. So all these animals which are killed mercilessly to satisfy 2 inches of our tongue. Even Naradji, if you remember in the earlier portion, Naradji also explained that in fourth canto. To that king who was very attached to rituals, the father of the Prachetas. And he had filled the whole earth with kusha grass, and he used to do a lot of rites, rituals. In that, he used to do a lot of animal sacrifice. And there, Naradji tells him that all these animals are waiting for you there. The purpose is again to invoke kindness and compassion and to ensure that this hatya doesn't happen. Just imagine no taste before the tongue, no taste below the tongue, only the 2.5 inches of this tongue, and how much violence and how many animals are being slaughtered day by day, and all in the name of I am free, I can do what I like, there's nothing called right and wrong. Where there is no choice available, still understandable. There is choice available, alternatives are available, and yet people are doing without blinking an eye and relishing it, enjoying it, and giving all kinds of pervert arguments saying that when we were hunter gatherers, we used to eat raw food, raw meat only. So who says our teeth are not made for carnivorous food? We don't have that type of teeth even at that time. That time we did not know properly, so we ate. Now there is so much more development. Then why don't you live like a caveman only? Why do you live in a proper house with proper dress and all that and car and so many facilities? Live like a caveman. All kinds of arguments people give just to justify their attachment to that taste. So here Shastra very clearly says, if you kill those animals will settle their karma with you. How they will do that, you leave it to Ishvara. Ishvara will ensure that this jiva who has killed so many animals, those animals will settle their karmas with this jiva. Here one example only is given that in Raurav Naraka, they all are waiting and they will kill. Now if you say, how did the person is dead and gone there, so how is that person killed? We are reborn on this earth here or not? Like that one is born on in that place with the appropriate body in that Raurav Naraka, and there one gets killed. One will feel that pain of what one has done. No, Swamiji, I didn't kill directly, I only ate. Even then, one will get that result. So here he says that there is Raurav Naraka. Similar to that is Maharaurav Naraka. So there is quite similar the hell called Maharaurava, where the Kravyadas, they are flesh eaters because they are carnivorous by nature. They are there and they kill for the sake of the flesh. The man who solely nourishes his own body, hating others and killing the other living beings who eats. Now this Kravyadas, they eat this person. Then Kumbhipaka is the region the servants of Yama fry in boiling oil. Pakoda one will become Kumbhipaka. That merciless fellow censured even by the Rakshasas. Rakshasas feed on human flesh. Such Rakshasas also are censuring such a person. Who is he? Who is so cruel as to cook beasts and birds alive? It happens. You know, some places you go and see in China and some other places, even Hong Kong and all these places, in front of you, that monkey, the monkey is there, na? They fix that monkey between some machine and they crack open the skull of the monkey. They kill the monkey. They cut. Then they take out that brain and they cook it and then serve. Some places live they take and put in the oil and fry those grasshoppers and so many things like that and then they eat. Very weird things. What human being does. So you see here, he says that who is actually so cruel as to cook beasts and birds alive. Further, he who is hostile to his own father, a Brahmana or the Vedas, is thrown into hell called Kala Sutra, consisting of a burning level sheet of copper, having a circumference of 10,000 yojanas, and being excessively heated above and below by the sun and the fire, respectively. And his mind and body being tormented with hunger and thirst, he continues there for as many thousand years as there are hair on the body of a beast. Sometimes sitting, sometimes lying down, rolling about restlessly and springing on his feet and running in every direction. This is where it is. Is thrown in this burning level sheet of copper. See, the point here is what? Hostile to the father, to the Brahmana and the Veda. Doesn't mean that one can't disagree or one can't question. But what is the purpose of saying this? If I'm hostile, what does Veda say? Veda says about dharmic way of living. If I'm not living that dharmic way of life, I'm doing adharma. See, if I don't study the Veda, I will do adharma. That is not the conclusion. I may not know the Veda, but I may know the essence of it taught to me by parents or anyone else, and I'm living a righteous, value-based life, not a problem. But if that I don't know somehow, and I'm living in adharmic ways, then this will be the result. Then, who actually deviates from the path chalked out for him by the Vedas, except in an emergency, and embraces the heretic creed, those who are completely non-believers, the servants of Yama throw into the hell called Asipatravana, a cluster of trees having sword-like leaves. Asi means sword, patra in leaves. Asipatravana, a forest which has so many trees, which has sword-like leaves, and beat with a whip. Actually running there to and fro with all his limbs being torn by the sword-like leaves, sharp edges on both sides of the palmyra tree in that grove, and crying, "Ah, I am finished." He drops down unconscious at every step through excessive agony and apostate as he is, reaps the fruit of the sin attaching to heretics. These are heretics in what sense? These are not heretics who are out of ignorance or atheists or non-believers, but some of them have studied the Veda, still want to have their opinion that no, I am only an atheist and I will not accept. No logic is accepted. holding on to that ego, and then denying God, increasing the ego. Obviously, exploitation and many things one can do. Even if one doesn't, the ego may be high. These are possibilities. And again, I'm saying this is not like a commandment that this is, if you are an atheist, this is what will happen to you. That is not to be taken like that. The idea is that this type of resistance, just for the sake of resistance, without any proper logic, is discouraged. Why? There is nothing wrong in questioning. All our scriptures are a result of questions. And so many different philosophies are there, which are all products of different mindsets. And it is not that only one path, one way, one philosophy, one God. No. Freedom of thought is there. There's no doubt in that. But the point to understand here is this obstinacy out of ego, that I know what is said, I understand what Veda says, I can intellectually, I am actually even clearer and convinced, but I hold on to my ego. I am a non-believer. I will not accept at all. And I will do things exactly opposite of what is said in the Veda. I will not worship God. I won't go to a temple. I will not do these rituals. I will not follow any of this, and I will create trouble for those who are following. That is the heretic cult. Then the suffering will be like this. Some of the greatest saints have been atheists before, and then they transformed because they understood, they were convinced of what the Vedic knowledge is, and then they accepted, they transformed themselves. Here is somebody who doesn't want to. Those are referred to here. Then again, a king or a king's officer who inflicts punishment on one undeserving of punishment. So that's why the job of a king is very difficult. Nyaya and dharma has to be done. So it may be the king or an officer of the king, having some responsible position, who is a minister, etc. If that person has not done the proper inquiry and out of some vested interest, punish somebody who is not guilty, who is innocent, or it is said corporal punishment on a Brahmana. Such an atrocious soul falls hereafter into the hell known as Sukaramukha, with his limbs being crushed by the most powerful hands, even as the piece of sugar cane is crushed in in that machine which brings out the juice, how the sugar cane is put between the two rollers and it is crushed. Like that, one will be crushed and is filled with great consternation, shrieking in a piteous tone, and now fainting, even like the men who were detained by him here, though not found guilty. How somebody who was not guilty was punished unnecessarily. Some false accusation, some false proofs are created, fabricated, and that person is punished. And the real culprit has gotten away. Or that real culprit has been shielded. Bhagavan says here that all those people, how those who have suffered much worse than that, these people will suffer. Those who have been unfairly punished, how they have suffered. These kings or the officer of the kings will be punished worse than that. Sometimes we think that who knows whether they get the punishment or they don't get the punishment. Here, so they got away with it. That's why it is a Shraddha Vishay, number one. Number two, we have to also understand that what is the point of living an adharmic life? Some temporary benefit we may get, or some wrong I have done, I am trying to cover it up to ensure my image and my achievements and all that is not tainted. But that is a very tight, narrow viewpoint. Because action will bring its result. One may or may not exactly suffer like this. If we believe in the Shastra, then we say, yes, this is true and this will happen. And so become aware and don't fall for these and do the duties. If we don't believe also, at some point the result is going to come. No? How will one escape that? That one can't. So if I believe in this law of karma and cause and effect properly, then I will ensure that my karma should be dharmic. And that's the main purpose. Then, whose mode of life in this world um, has been determined by Bhagwan himself in the terms of Bhagwan created Varna Vyavastha, and as per each Varna, the temperament of the person based on the guna and karma, one should live and ensure that all of us are one. That's why the Purusha Suktam say they are all different parts of the one supreme truth, cosmic person. Brahmano se mukhamasid bahu rajene kritaha uru tadasya yadvaishya padbhyagam shudro ajayata. So all the four are appearances of the divine. None of them are superior or inferior to anyone. They all are divine. That's the main point of that analogy. So here he says that Bhagwan appears as this very cosmic person and has given different varnas to different jivas. And one who does not understand this oneness and exploits others. So he says here that by whom the agony of others is easily understood, inferred from his own experience, and who inflicts pain on creatures, whose means of living have been determined by God, and by which the agony of others is not known, descends after death into Andhakupa because of his hatred towards those creatures. So if somebody exploits others in the name of Varna Vyavastha, goes into Andhakupa. So very clearly it is said in our scriptures. But we don't study, so then we think Brahmana is superior, Shudra is inferior, Brahmana inflicts the discrimination on the Shudra, prevents them from coming anywhere near, does not allow them to bow down or touch their feet or go into a temple or drink from the same well. Some of these are all human created issues. Varna Vyavastha is not encouraging any of this. And this is human frailty, it is human ego and domination and control that human wants. And this has happened in all the different countries in different ways. It's not that it is only here. And there's no justification of it, even if it happens anywhere. So in the name of money, in the name of color of the skin, in the name of position, power, gender, so many ways human being exploits the other. That's why he says here that such people descend into the hell called Andhakupa. Now, being actually hated on all sides in that region by deer and other beasts, birds, reptiles, mosquitoes, lice, bugs, flies, and other living beings, whatsoever were killed by him, he has his sleep and peace of mind disturbed, meaning he can't sleep, mind is disturbed, and finds no rest anywhere, roams about in darkness just as the jiva remains restless in an unsound, diseased body. Now, so many creatures one has killed wantedly for no fault, exploited other people of the other lower varnas, so-called lower varnas, then the person will go through this suffering. One who eats here whatever comes to him without sharing it with others. Meaning, it is our duty to first share the food. With whom? So with some atithi waiting at the door, or with the servants of his household, the young children, the age of the family, married sisters and daughters, and so on. A householder especially must share the food before eating. That's why we find some of them They have a practice of taking out food and keeping it for 3, 4 morsels, they will keep out. For dog, for the crow, for the cow, for the pitrus, like that, they will keep and then they will eat. Here it says even other members, servants and family and daughters and mothers and sisters and all of them. Meaning give before you take. So here he says, he who eats here, whatever comes to him without sharing and without performing the 5 kinds of yajnas, meaning the Panchamaha yajnas. Rishi yajna, Deva yajna, Manusha yajna, Bhuta yajna, and Pitra yajna. All these. Panchamaha yajnas one has to do. So Brahma yajna, how is it done? By teaching and chanting the Veda. And also sharing it with others, the same knowledge. So every day if I chant some Vedic mantras, I am doing Brahma yajna. Then Pitra yajna. How? By doing Tarpan, Shraddha, etc. Like just now the Shraddha Paksh went during that time. And also on the Tithi on which the ancestor has passed on. 2 generations one has to take care. Parent, grandparent, and then if one wants, even great grandparent. 3. Daiva yajna means doing homa, ahutis, etc. are offered to please the devatas. They are taking care of the whole creation as well as our body. So Deva yajna. Then Bhuta yajna. By offering this small portion of the food to all these, ants, crow, cow, dog, all of them. Then Indra yajna. Atithi Devo Bhava. Take care of not only Atithi, but even others who come to our house as guests. They may be our friends, family, relatives, whoever. Eat without doing the Panchamahayajna, without is like a crow and falls hereafter into the worst of hells called Krimi Bhojana. Falls into Krimi Bhojana. Born as a worm in a pool full of worms, 100,000 yojanas in extent. The fellow who thus ate food, a part of which had neither been given to others nor offered as oblation to fires, lives there on worms, himself preyed upon by those very other worms, and subjects himself to torture for as many years as there are yojanas constituting the extent of that pool, unless the sin was already expiated during his very lifetime. See, some of these, if you read, one gets very scared. Ki, Arey Bapre, I have eaten so many days without doing any Panchamaha Yajna. Then what will happen to me? One is ignorance, I don't know. One is I know and I still don't do it. And like he said here, if one has expiated all those sins by doing sadhana, starting now, then one is freed from it. Again, I'm saying this is not to create fear and this is not to create disgust in our mind. The purpose here is, oh, I have not been doing this. This is my duty. Let me do it. Not only out of fear, it is also out of the deeper understanding of oneness of life and how our rishis brought all this together in a simple way that every day I remember these 5. No? I remember Bhagavan, I remember the Devatas, I remember the rishis, I remember the Pitrus, I remember the beings around me, as well as I remember other human beings. So I don't live a selfish life. I live a life where others are put before me. That's the training in spiritual sadhana. That is spiritual life. And if we learn to live like that, how much more harmony will be there in the society, how much more peace and happiness. Because ego is put aside and one thinks of the other first. Today we are doing exactly opposite. We are thinking of ourselves more and more and more. And that is why we are destroying families, destroying the environment, destroying the culture, so many things we are doing. Why? Because selfishness is the root cause. Terrorism is there, corruption is there, bribery is there, adultery is there, so many things of these which are happening. Why? Because selfishness is the root cause. These are things to make me selfless. So the essence of it, we have to take that if I live in a selfish way, I am going to suffer. It is, and why it is like a worm. See, the worm is a very, we feel pity. We feel, array, what is this? Such a irritating thing, and I'll be born like a worm. Meaning that worm, many times it just feeds. There's nothing else more than that it can do. It will keep feeding and create more worms. Some of them will feed on leaves and all that. Some of them will feed on other creatures. But that's a very low level of existence. Intelligence, etc., not there. Naturally, whatever is happening is happening. So the idea here is that when one lives selfishly, then one is whatever may be one's big position in life, whatever one may have achieved, but if I, me, and mine is very strong, that already is like a worm-like existence only. Because one is not using the buddhi, one is not evolving, one is not putting that effort to be selfless. Because only human being can do that. Choice we have. Then he says that again the servants of Yama tear hereafter in the hell called Samdamsha with red hot balloons of red hot balloons of iron or pairs of nippers the skin of the man who actually takes away here by theft or force gold or jewels belonging to a brahmana or otherwise than in an emergency warranting such a course to another. Unless there's an emergency, even there it is not justified, but the idea here is where there is no emergency, out of greed you went and stole. Brahmana is only a symbol here. It does not mean that one can steal from anybody else. Meaning from a sattvic person who is serving the society, who lives on selflessness, from that person you go and steal. Who doesn't even get fees. There is no fees of a Brahmana. Brahmana does things and lives on dakshina and dan of people. Brahmana is not earning, this is not a profession where one goes around doing rites and rituals only for money. That's the Varna Vyavastha description of a Brahmana who is living selflessly, who depends more on Bhagwan and who does the Shastra Seva, Ishwar Seva, and spreads this knowledge to the masses. Even from that person you go and steal, then is what he says here, that one will, their skin will be torn and all that. Tear hereafter with red hot balls of iron. Then thrashing with a whip hereafter. This hell is called Tapta Surmi. The man who actually copulates with a woman unworthy of being so used, and the woman who unites sexually with a man unworthy of being so approached. The servants of Yama force the man to embrace a red hot iron image of a woman, and the woman a similar image of a male. So here it is what? Unworthy of being so used. One of the things here is prostitution, where one is doing this out of only for pleasure and one has no control, no boundaries. One is living using the body as a means of pleasure. And we see so many challenges come because of that also. Now the point here is that body is given for sadhana. If that becomes like this, where one is just wasting away the energies in copulation, in sexual enjoyments, that is the highest drainer of energies. Physically and then emotionally, mentally, it will create its own impact because energies are being exchanged, fluids are being exchanged, aura is getting affected, many things happen. One is taking it very casually. That is the Western approach, where one thinks it's just a physical act. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? But they don't understand the subtleties of it in terms of the effect on the prana, in terms of the effect on the even the physical body, on the mind, on the emotions, many things like that. And of course, the spiritual evolution then. We are trying to rise above body identification. This will increase more and more the body identification. So, dharmically, if one has committed in a relationship, in a vivaha samskar, the purpose, one of the purpose of vivaha is to sublimate lust and ensure that human being confines oneself to one partner. Otherwise, this will happen, multiple partners. And now to what all happens in this name? It's not only prostitution, live-in can happen. Sometimes people use and depart and they have one night stands, whatnot. That type of mindset is discouraged. One may think it is regressive and we are talking primitive stuff and those time contraceptives were not available. Today they are available. So why are you not using and just enjoy? The point is not whether those are available and, pregnancies can be prevented and all that. The point is, what do I look at myself as? And what do I look at the opposite person as? Am I looking at myself only as my goal of life is pleasure and I'm looking at opposite person only as an object of pleasure? Even psychologists, if you ask them, they will tell you, sex is in the mind. It's not in the body. The body is one physical act that is happening, but it is here in the mind. And what emotions are there behind it, what kind of feeling one has, all that is important, not just some physical lust. So if one engages in these things, control will not happen. Energies will get wasted. Those energies which should turn upwards, which will help in every aspect, not only spiritual growth, in working, in achievement, in service, in relationships, everywhere. This Virya Shakti is important. And that is not understood yet properly. One only thinks it's a physical energy and that easily can be rejuvenated through food and rest and whatever exercise, and I'll regain my vitality. And the stronger I am, the more capable I am, and I can last longer and whatever one goes on with that. That's very primitive way of thinking in terms of very base. Only at body level one is thinking. We are only one small part of our personality is the body. Massive part of our personality is prana, man, buddhi, and the atma. That is the most important part. All that I am compromising if I am going on being lusty. So in the Manusmriti, very clearly it is said, Kama Turanam na bhayam na lajja. One who is overpowered by Kama, does not have fear, does not have shame, will do anything. Kabir Das ji also says, powerful one shloka, one doha, he says, Kami kutta ek din, nantar hota udas, Kami nar kutta sada, chah ritu bara mas. Even dog, meaning even any animal, the mating of that animal is governed by the nature, and after that mating time is over, the dog is free. It doesn't have bother the dog. But human being is like a dog full time, who is not using his vivek. Chah ritu bara mas, 6 seasons, 12 months is indulgent. So here, that's where he says that what is the punishment there? You want the feel of the opposite gender? Okay, now embrace hot iron murti. You see, hot iron image of a woman for a man and man for a woman. Who actually commits here sexual intercourse indiscriminately with all, including animals. Look at that. That's why it was lust as over. Infernal region called Vajra Kantaka Shalmali, sorry. Vajra Kantaka Shalmali. Hereafter, they place on a silk cotton tree bristling with adamantine thorns and drag him down along the thorns so as to tear his body. We have come up to 21. The para, no? The prose lines till 21. So today I will stop here. Some more is there. We will take up in our next class. Any questions for today? Yes.
Swamiji, here it said about mosquitoes and flies. The one I know you said it's all like meaning it's the bow behind it, but like if mosquitoes and all of that, I put on that disinfectant and put on that tomato, I swap it and cockroaches I want to kill because I'm scared of them. They're not doing anything to me. That's not good. But I can't help it.
See, understandable. That's why the Prayaschitta is done. That's why this Panchamaha are done, Namajapa, etc. is done to compensate for that, because they also have a right to live and I am consciously killing them. Unconsciously, what happens by my very existence, so many beings are killed. For them itself, the Panchamaha is done to recompensate. But here, when we are doing this consciously, so one does, when it's unavoidable, then one says a prayer for them. One does it only if it's unavoidable. If there is a possibility of, like suppose one is in a car, one can put down the windows and send the mosquito out. Send, don't kill. The idea is only that sensitivity towards other life forms is important. That's the main principle. And once we understand that, then we apply it. There's nothing to be, it is not that for as many mosquitoes one has killed, now the mosquito is waiting to kill you there. The idea is be sensitive, compassionate to the creatures wherever possible. Let them go, free them or let them out. When not possible, then one has to kill. Then do the sadhanas, pray for them, do the nam japa, etc. And ensure that the mind continues to remain sattvic and compassionate. Otherwise, sometimes what happens in this process, one does not even feel anything. One is just randomly doing violence on the small creatures. You see, sometimes it happens. It's not a mosquito, it's a simple, small, little, I don't know what you call it. Sometimes they're like fruit flies or some small, small things like that, or some small house fly or anything like that. One wants to kill them also. Why? They're small creatures, they're flying around. After some time, anyway, their lifespan is so small. They're not hurting you, they're not going to infect you, they're not going to create any dengue and this and that. But the mind will create that. Mindset is like that. Kill, 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 kill. That mindset is what is the reference here in my understanding. Mangala प्रिया प्रीतम की मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की मंगल कांति हसनी दसनन की
मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की मंगल आरती। मंगल बनिक त्रिभंगी हरि की मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की। मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की मंगल छवि नैनन में अटकी मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की मंगल अति कटी पियरे पट की मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की मंगल वृंदावन मग अटकी मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयम् अग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।